Tonight you will go to bed and you will try to sleep straight through until morning. If you wake up at 2 a.m., you will probably call it insomnia. You might even reach for your phone to check the time, frustrated, wondering what's wrong with you. But for most of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a malfunction. It was the plan. For thousands of years, humans didn't sleep in one solid block. They slept twice. Historian Roger E. Kirch spent over 16 years combing through diaries, court records, medical texts, and literature from pre-industrial Europe. What he found was strange. Again and again, ordinary people referred to a first sleep and a second sleep, as if everyone simply understood the night came in two parts, not as a rare habit, not as something unusual, as the default. So what happened in between? People woke somewhere around midnight. They didn't panic. They didn't check a clock, because clocks that mattered to ordinary households barely existed. Instead, they got up. They tended the fire. They talked quietly with a spouse. Some prayed. Some visited neighbors. Some had sex. Then, after an hour or two of quiet wakefulness, they climbed back into bed and slept a second time until sunrise. This middle-of-the-night waking even had a name. The French called it dorveil, a blend of the words for sleep and waking. It shows up in Old English writings too, in Chaucer, in Dickens-era diaries, in medical manuals advising doctors on when to schedule bloodletting, during the wakeful gap between the two sleeps. Why would the human body evolve this way? Look at what surrounded ancient nights. No electric light, no screens, only firelight, and firelight is dim and orange. Nothing like the harsh blue-white glow that floods a modern bedroom. Before artificial light, the night stretched 12, sometimes 14 hours long in winter. That's a long time to expect a body to lie unconscious in a single unbroken stretch. In 1990, psychiatrist Thomas Ware ran an experiment that accidentally proved this. He placed a group of participants in a room with no artificial light for 14 hours a day, mimicking a pre-industrial winter night. At first, the subjects slept badly, restless, fighting against unfamiliar darkness. But within weeks, something shifted. Their sleep split. They fell into a pattern almost identical to what Kirch found in the historical record. A period of sleep, then an hour or two of calm, quiet wakefulness, then a second period of sleep. Their bodies hadn't learned this. They remembered it. That's the part that should stop you. This wasn't a trained behavior invented by history. It re-emerged the moment modern light was removed, which means the single unbroken 8-hour night you've been chasing your whole life might not be the natural rhythm at all. It might be the deviation. So what changed? Artificial light did. Historians point to the same window E. Kirch studied, the late 1600s through the 1800s, as the period when segmented sleep quietly disappeared across Europe and North America. Streetlights arrived in cities, then gas lamps in homes, then electric bulbs. Nightlife stretched later. Coffee houses stayed open. Factories ran shifts. The night, once a long, dark stretch meant for rest interrupted by quiet wakefulness, became something to be pushed back, shortened, conquered. By the time Thomas Edison's light bulb became common in households, the two sleeps were already fading from memory. Within a generation or two, nobody used the words first sleep and second sleep anymore. The phrase simply vanished from language, the way words do when the thing they describe stops happening. Here's the twist most people miss. The problem isn't that you sleep in one block now instead of two. Your body can adapt to that, and largely has. The problem is what happens when you wake up in the middle of the night today. E. Kirch's subjects, and Ware's, treated that waking window as calm, unhurried, almost meditative. No urgency, no self-judgment, just quiet time before returning to sleep. You do the opposite. You wake at 3 a.m., and immediately your mind treats it as a crisis. You calculate how many hours of sleep you have left. You reach for a phone, and the light from the screen tells your brain it's daytime, suppressing the melatonin that would have eased you back into sleep. Sleep researcher Charles Scheisler, who has spent decades studying circadian rhythms at Harvard, has shown that blue light exposure at night can delay your body's internal clock by hours, tricking it into thinking morning has already arrived. So the very thing modern humans do out of anxiety about broken sleep is often the thing that guarantees it stays broken. Your ancestors woke in darkness and did nothing about it. That was the whole solution. Think about what that middle of the night waking used to be for. It wasn't wasted time. It was unstructured time, free of obligation, free of light, free of stimulation. Historians have noted it as a period linked to introspection, to dream recall, to quiet intimacy between partners. Some researchers have speculated that this liminal state, half asleep and half awake, may have been unusually good for creative thought and emotional processing, a kind of nightly pause the modern mind never gets anymore. You've replaced it with something else entirely. Now, when you wake at night, there's rarely stillness. There's a phone glowing on the nightstand. There's the temptation to check messages, to scroll, to fill the empty dark with light and information instead of letting it stay dark and letting your mind idle. The wakeful gap your ancestors treated as ordinary, you treat as an emergency to be fixed as fast as possible. Is it any surprise so many people report lying awake at night, mind racing, unable to relax back into sleep? You're not broken. You're not failing at rest the way modern wellness culture insists you are. You're running an ancient two-part rhythm through a single unbroken expectation, then panicking when the rhythm reasserts itself anyway. Your body is doing something it has done for most of human history. It's your response to that waking that has changed, not the waking itself. This doesn't mean you need to abandon modern sleep entirely and start lighting candles at dusk. Most people function fine within a single consolidated sleep block, especially with consistent light exposure and routine. But understanding where the two sleeps came from changes something important. It changes what a 3 a.m. waking means. It's not proof that something is wrong with you. It might be proof that something ancient is still there, quietly underneath centuries of electric light and clocks and alarms, waiting for the dark to return long enough to remember what it used to do. So tonight, if you wake at 2 a.m. and lie there in the dark, resist the urge to reach for the phone, to calculate the hours, to treat it as a problem demanding a fix. Just breathe in the dark for a while. Somewhere in your body's oldest memory, this used to be the whole point.
If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.